Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us on our webinar this morning. I want to say a very special thank you to Joanne from GEMX, Karen and Donna from MTF, from the team at the University of Ulster, and from Eddie Kuskanen from Malahan Engineering for participating in this collaborative webinar today, and to all of you industry that have expressed an interest in hearing a little bit more about degree apprentices and the pitfalls to avoid and how they can benefit your company. So it's great to have you all here. Anybody who doesn't know me, my name is Una McCabe, and I am the Degree Apprentice and Mentor Lead for Mega. So I am the go-to person for our network for anyone who is interested in recruiting a degree apprentice, how to engage a degree apprentice and how to retain them. And we do that through a bespoke mentoring program that we have. So the reason that we are having this webinar today is to raise awareness of the impact degree apprentices can have on our business. Currently, an awful lot of our companies have got degree apprentices in mechanical and manufacturing engineering, which is going to be our main topic today. Electrical and electronic engineering. We also have accounting and finance, and some young people doing mechatronics. There are obviously a lot of other business support degree apprenticeships, which maybe Evan can share with you after. But for today, that's what we're going to be primarily focusing on, is the mechanical and manufacturing engineering. And what I'm hoping that you will get out of today is what is the course content and what you can expect your young person to be learning while they are in, or apprentice while they are in university, and the impact that they then have whenever they come out into industry, and how you can best support them to get the best out of them so that you have the best out of yourself. I suppose from Mega's learning, we have a significant amount of applications, far more than we can place within our own companies. So this is really a collaborative event with GEMX and MTF about how we can work collectively across the whole of Northern Ireland for the better good of our industry, to try and recruit and retain more people into it. So I am going to hand over firstly to Ryan Harkin from the University of Ulster, who will do the academic piece. I'm then going to pass that on over to Eddie Kuskanen from Malahan's Engineering, who will talk from a business perspective. We'll then go to Evan Villas, who will chat about university supports, and then it will come to myself again, and we'll do some question and answers. So if you have anything that is popping up throughout the webinar, please put them into the question and answers box, and we'll try and answer them as we go along. And hopefully we'll get wrapped up quicker than within the hour, because I know everyone's really busy. So on that, Ryan, I am going to hand over to you, if that's okay.
Thanks very much, Nina. Can we all see my screen?
Yeah.
Perfect. We still see it okay? Perfect.
Yeah.
Thanks, Nina, for the introduction, and thanks for the invitation along today. My name's Ryan Harkin. I'm a lecturer in mechanical engineering within Ulster University, and I'm also the HLA tutor. So I work very closely with the apprentices over the last number of years, and I've seen their growth and their development as a result of this particular program. So what I'm going to do today is provide you with some information regarding what the apprentice would be doing whenever they're on campus studying their degree program. So both apprenticeships that we offer, the students would be based on the Derry Londonderry campus. Both programs operate within the School of Computing Engineering and Intelligence Systems within this particular campus. We offer two higher level apprenticeship programs. The first one I'm going to talk about in more detail today is the Mechanical and Manufacturing Engineering higher level apprenticeship. And the second one there, as you can see, is the Electric and Electronic Engineering higher level apprenticeship. So in terms of then the course structure or the program structure, the apprentices will be completing 2 semesters per year, per academic year. In year 1, and I'm going to go in a little bit more detail very shortly, in year 1, it's almost like full-time attendance. So during the semester, the apprentice would be on campus 4 days per week, and then they would be within the employer 1 day per week. That mode then shifts in year 2, 3, and 4. So in years 2, 3, and 4 of the program, then the apprentice would be on campus 1 day per week, and they would be within their employer 4 days per week. Okay, so there's a bit of a dynamic shift there from year 1 into year 2. So in total, the program is 4 years in duration. Both programs are accredited. So the Mechanical and Manufacturing program is accredited by the Institution of Mechanical Engineers, which is IMechE, and the Electric and Electronic Engineering program is accredited by the Institution of Engineering and Technology, which is the IET, on behalf of the Engineering Council. And then in terms of some standard entry requirements then for the Mechanical Manufacturing HLA program, you can see there the entry requirements is 3 Bs at A level. Subject requirements are provided. And then there are some desirable subject offers. So, for example, if an apprentice is offering maths, further maths, or physics, GCSE A level, they will receive an offer, which is a reduced offer of BCC. Okay, so that's for the Mechanical and Manufacturing Engineering program. And for the Electric and Electronic HLA program, the entry requirements there, as you can see, at A level are BBC. Okay, and you can see the essential A level criteria. And then a desirable offer is whereby an apprentice or candidate is presented with either maths, further maths, or physics, and then a reduced offer will then be applied of 3 Cs. Okay, so that's the 2 entry requirements for both programs. One thing I wanted to address before going into the structure of the program is I've worked very closely with GEMX and the employers for the last few years regarding the development of the Mechanical Manufacturing program, and it's really important that we listen to the voice of the apprentice as well, because we know that some of the teething problems or challenges that an apprentice may be having, particularly when they go on to year 2, where they're working and studying simultaneously. So we have to sort of accept that it is difficult, but how can we best support the apprentice whenever they are within the university? So the one thing that we do is we identify different modes of learning. And I'll sort of explain how this is sort of implemented into the curriculum whenever I go into the module content in a little bit more detail. But there's different modes. So you can see there's in-person, there's hybrid, there's online, and so on. And it's important that we sort of use these modes of learning to the best advantage of the apprentice to ensure that they can still grow and learn at the rate that they want to. We can see that a lot of the apprentices are motivated, they're driven, and they really want to do push on as best as they can. And it's up to us to try and provide them with that learning platform to allow them to do that. So this is the structure of the Mechanical and Manufacturing higher level apprenticeship. In year 1, as I said earlier, the apprentice would be on campus 4 days a week studying during term time, which is a 12-week semester. You can see there in year 1, the students would complete 6 modules. Down the left-hand side, of some detail regarding what the terminology means within the little boxes. Across the top, you can see the first one's just the module code. The second one then is the ECTS credits. So we can see down the left-hand side that 1 credit would be equivalent to 10 hours of learning. So in total, in semester 1, the students will complete 120 ECTS credits. When they then move into years 2, 3, and 4, they then complete 80 ECTS credits per year. Okay. What we've got down the middle is the dashed line. On the left-hand side is semester 1, and then on the right-hand side then is semester 2. So in year 1, 6 modules the apprentice would complete. Years 2, 3, and 4, the apprentice would then complete 80 ECTS credits per year. You can see in year 2 that we do have some 10 ECTS credit modules, particularly in semester 1 of year 2. Once they go into year 3 and year 4, that's where the apprentice then is moving into the level 5, level 6 modules, which would be the higher level modules within the program. And then at the very bottom, you can see right in the middle is the final year project, which is worth 40 ECTS credits. Okay, so we'll talk about that in a little bit more detail a little later on. The Electric and Electronic Engineering High Level Apprenticeship has the exact same format. In year 1, the apprentice is full-time, 4 days a week, 1 day a week in industry. That model then shifts in year 2, 3, and 4, where they're 4 days on site within the employer, and then they're 1 day on campus then completing their modules. So I'll just give you a flavour for what the apprentice will be completing within the program. So in year 1, then the student would be exploring manufacturing processes. Down the right-hand side, you can see a wire added manufacturing kit that we have on site within the engineering building. The student would get an opportunity, or the apprentice would get an opportunity to develop those skills in robotic welding. and other CNC machinery. So like your milling, your turning, your lathe, your water jet cutting, and so on. Moving on to maths, obviously maths is core to what we do within engineering. It's important that the students have a strong skill set in your trigonometry, your algebra, your applied statics and dynamics, and then mechanical science then is where they feed into that nicely. So you've got your mechanical science focusing on statics and dynamics, and the students would do a lot of lab-based experiments within those particular modules as well to ensure that they get that practical skill set and that hands-on skill set. Moving on to semester 2, then there's some programmable controller systems. So that's your electronics, looking at some kind of sensors and actuators and embedding them into designs. We've got material science and engineering, which is looking at really the material science and behind what the students do in terms of the design and their selection of appropriate materials for particular applications. And then that feeds into MEC 105, which is your design in CAD. And I've got some images down the right-hand side of some of our past graduates this year. We've got Ewan Murray here, who's demonstrating his design that his group successfully built and tested. But it's important that within these modules, one thing that I wanted to address there is that the students will be provided with a SolidWorks student license, and they're provided with that each year of the academic term, so that the student can, or the apprentice can, begin to develop and continue to develop their skill set and proficiency within computer-aided design remotely or outside of the contact hours of both the university and their industrial employer. So it allows them to really excel and push on. Moving on to year 2 then, again, we're really building upon the skill set and knowledge that the students were exposed to in year 1. We're building upon the modules, so you can see there's maths for engineering 2. There's materials and sustainability, which built upon the previous module. And one of the things that did change, I suppose, is the professional development module, which is professional development now for apprentices. It's important that the voice of the apprentice is heard and it's fed back into the curriculum. And this is one area that the apprentices felt and the employers felt that this could, a revision in the curriculum for professional development modules, specifically for apprentices, would benefit them in terms of their portfolio and the work that they're doing within their employer as a way of trying to document that. And I think that's going to be really helpful in the future. Moving then into year 2, again, we're looking at manufacturing technologies, continuing to cover additive manufacturing, integration of adaptive manufacturing, and then moving on again to mechanical science 2, which again is building upon mechanical science 1. Year 3, we see here we've got design in CAE 1, so that's really building upon MEC 105, where in MEC 105 the students are introduced to SolidWorks. They do 2D sketches, 3D model, and begin to develop assembly drawings, your building materials, your engineering drawings. And then in design in CAE 1, then we're really building upon that skill set knowledge. And the diagram that you can see here on the presentation is the build of a Stirling engine. And each student and each apprentice that comes onto the program would be expected to individually design that in SolidWorks, prepare the drawings for manufacture, build it, then test it. So it's a really great project that's embedded at the sort of year 3 for the apprentice, and it's a way for them to showcase the work that they can do. And usually speaking, all the apprentices would get their Stirling engine working. We then have the engineering of control systems and signals, which is building upon the initial electronic module that you would see there in year 1. This is an example project that we've done in the past, working with Mega and GEMX to bring in employers. We would have the apprentices, and all the photographs here do represent the apprentices that we did have and have all successfully graduated, and I'm sure they're excelling within their companies. We would bring employers in, and we would get the students as groups to develop posters. And you can see the 2 posters here that the apprentices developed. Excellent posters, really good quality. And the one thing that was mentioned that day whenever we brought in employers was that the apprentices really, as a way of communicating their design and justifying their design decisions, they really did excel. And that is as a result of the nature of this program, where the students can apply their learning and accelerate their learning, both within academia, but also as well, obviously, within their industrial position. Then we've got a continuation of Mechanical Science 1 and 2. Mechanical Science 3 is a level 6 module that really looks at strength of materials, mechanical vibration theory, and heat transfer. Again, a lot of these modules will contain your lab-based work, so the students get practical, hands-on experience alongside, not only, but obviously alongside the theory and content within the lectures. Industry 4.0 then is again another level 6 module, which again looks at obviously your Industry 4.0, your Internet of Things and the technology and the sensors that are used that are currently transforming the manufacturing sector. Year 4, then we've got two, again, level 6 modules. One's in semester 1, one's in semester 2. Engineering design is a large group-based project where the students will work as a group to develop a design, which would then have to sort of justify to a panel, which usually would include industrial representation. And then in semester 2, they would complete design in CAE 2, which is a computer-aided engineering module focusing a lot on advanced modeling, advanced techniques, finite element analysis, and a way of trying to justify design decisions that they made across their projects. Year 4, then the students will complete their final year project. So this is a 40 credit module. It runs across both semesters. One of the benefits that an apprentice can really exploit here is where they can do an open project or a work-based project. And I'm going to show you some images shortly of award-winning final year projects that the apprentices have completed. It's a great opportunity for the apprentice, bearing in mind that they've had 3 years experience working within their employer, the knowledge and skill set that they've built up. The final year project allows them to apply that learning and to do a project that stems across 24 weeks that can showcase their skill set and knowledge within a particular area of their company. And that's something that we try and work with the companies early on before the final year project starts. They set up the project to ensure that there is a work plan in place. But yeah, generally speaking, with the final year projects, with the apprentice being able to apply their learning from their work-based learning into a project within the curriculum, yeah, it really does showcase the qualities that the apprentices possess. So over the years then, we've had a few number of graduates from the mechanical manufacturing apprenticeship program. This is some of our award-winning degree apprentices. On the right-hand side, we have Megan Anthony, who won the Rising Star Award. And then moving across then, this year, we had a competition for final year projects, and Dylan Mooney won best final year project. It was a competition against all final year projects, and Dylan Mooney came first. He was an apprentice, and Rosie Wildwood came second. So it showcases the quality that the apprentices are working to. And it's not only about the quality, but it's also conveying that, you know, and whenever we see, in presentations in particular, they've got that advanced skill set and knowledge, and they know how to deliver and justify the design decisions that they made across any project. I'm just going to leave some details here of some contact details for personnel, some of my colleagues that work within different programs. Mohammed Abid is the program director for the HLA courses. Sean McFadden is the mechanical manufacturing program director. Akib Javid is the program director for the electronic engineering course. So if anybody has any follow-up questions, particularly on that program, please do reach out. And obviously I'm the HLA tutor. So if anybody has any questions either today or further on, beyond today, please do reach out. I'm more than happy to answer any questions that any employer does have about the program. So thank you.
Ryan, thank you very much. I think that was really succinct, and hopefully it is give real clarity about what the academic part of this apprenticeship is, because it's all about working in that tripartite and having an understanding of the module content and how that can then, hopefully Eddie will be able to relate how that then marries into industry whenever they are there. I suppose a couple of things I just wanted to touch on while you were talking, you just triggered me there, Ryan, was the entry requirements, just for everybody on the call. We don't drop the grades. So what the grades are, that they remain like that. And Ryan will agree with me, because why we do that is to make sure that we have got the caliber young person that are actually going to be fit to do it. It's actually really tough to do a degree apprenticeship, to work and to be able to keep up with that academic pace. So it's as much as about protecting the apprentice, it's about protecting industry, because industry are making a big investment, especially in that first year where there's the accelerated learning that Ryan talked about, where they are in university for that extended period of time, to make sure that they're going in with really sound solid foundations going into work. So I suppose it's just you need to be really mindful of that. This doesn't go to clearing, and we do try to maintain that high level of standard to protect everybody's investment into this. And you're absolutely right, Ryan. This year there was a really big shift in the final year projects being more work-based. And I think that means there's a wee bit more value add for companies. Did you see that whenever?
Absolutely. this year more than ever, as you said, there seems to be more apprentices doing work-based projects. Now, it's not compulsory that they do that, but it makes sense because they've had 3 years experience working within the company. And across those years, particularly in year 3, they would have an opportunity to identify a particular project within the company that would not only benefit the apprentice, but also maybe benefit the company, because it allows the apprentice to really focus on a project for 24 weeks. They would have a supervisor, an academic supervisor, but I'm pretty sure that in their company as well, they would have industrial mentors that would guide them along the way as well. And you can see with the prizes that were then given out, we had 2 apprentices that won. Yeah, and that was accolades that were provided as a result of the quality of the work that they produced in their final year project.
It's lovely to see the university so proud of that as well. It's great.
Absolutely.
It's been a number of years of growing this program. It's great that we've got to a point where it's winning awards. So yeah, absolutely. Ryan, thank you very much for that.
No
that
problem.
was great.
Thank you.
I'm going to move on to Eddie Kuskinen, who can introduce himself. And we're going to talk a little bit about, from an industry perspective, how as a degree apprentice really benefit. But we're going to have an honest conversation about, the barriers and the pitfalls to avoid. So I suppose we'll start, Eddie, firstly by getting you to introduce yourself and your role, and perhaps just a little bit about your initial experience of degree apprentices.
Thanks, Una. Again, it's a pleasure to be here talking this morning about something that I'm very passionate about. As Una says, my name is Eddie. As Una didn't say, my second name is Kuskinen. So for all the years I've known this woman, she still calls me the wrong second name. But we'll forgive her for that. So I'm head of operations here in Malahans in Dungannon, where we make the ground support equipment for all of the aviation world. And I'm sure many of you know us, and for those who don't, we are approximately 600 strong now. We're based in Dungannon. We have a second base in Atlanta, Georgia. Flourishing, absolutely doing well at the moment. Lots of work on and very dependent upon a good labour source in our young people. Currently, we have 28 apprentices signed on the books. 6 of those are degree apprentices, so that's 22% of the students we have are degree apprentices. We have to date 2 qualified, and 2 in going to year 3, and 4 new ones starting this year. It's actually very inspirational to sit here and listen to what has been said already this morning, how people have developed, not only internally with our students, but also with this program, and to listen to Ryan talking today about where the program's at. It's very refreshing. Whenever this course started, I think back in 22, Una, something like that. It most certainly was the new show in town. And personally, I think now it's the best show in town. The amount of hard work that's gone into promoting this course by the Mega Group, where it started off in very small rooms, having very, I suppose, unhinged conversation about what this thing will look like and how do we attract people, or how they would attract people, to now be in a situation where there's way, way more apprentices applying than there are companies capable of taking them. And if this conversation today turns that around, I think we'll have done really, really good work today. This is definitely the best show in town for us. We avail of it greatly every single day. So yeah, if you want me to continue talking here, if there's any questions you want to cut in and ask me, then please do.
I suppose we'll just start at the beginning. So like people starting out in their journey, and they've either recruited themselves or Mega have recruited their CVs. What is the caliber of the CVs and the young people that you're interviewing? What's the caliber? Is it competitive?
No, it most certainly is. I suppose for us now, we whenever we get CVs and that through the door, we don't necessarily spend much time on the academic achievements. They are going to be what they're going to be, and because the bar is set so high, we've seen the quality of candidate coming through as being very, very high, very mature, very well-rounded students that are pretty sure of what it is they want to do in life. So we're starting off on a really good footing there. We cut, as I say, directly to the work experience or any experience they have in life. And we will spend more time actually in that section of a CV. And you generally can find that those that have had more life experience in jobs, be it part-time, be it voluntary, or any extracurricular work that they've done, those people come through as being a wee bit stronger. So that's what we concentrate a lot of time on. But it'd be very, very difficult to decide who it is you're bringing in through that door. So much so that whenever we have a kind of hedge to our best, we obviously can't interview everybody. We need to be very, very good at how we then interview. For us now in Malahans, we test every apprentice that comes through our door. This year alone, we tested 62 different students across all of the student intake that we have. That starts from level 2 right up to degree apprenticeship. And then if the testing process goes well, and there's many factors taken into consideration at that stage, they will forward on through to an interview process. So it's very important for us to understand that there's a huge amount of students with great capabilities. So it's on us as a company to ensure that we're picking the right person out of that. And that's a bit of a barrier for us to make sure we get it right. We really are like children in a candy store at that stage because there's such a wealth of good talent there. So much so that we've a kind of, whilst budgets are very important there, we most certainly have an ethos that if there's a good person, we don't turn them away. And sometimes we can maybe over-employ the quantity of people, but it's then justified in the quality within coming months and years.
Yeah, and I suppose it is that, like, I just got a message from Crossland Tankers yesterday, and they said that out of all the recruitment campaigns across all levels in their industry, their degree apprenticeship interviews was the most competitive that they've ever had. And I suppose that's about the caliber of young people that actually are applying. And as Ryan said, they're really motivated. They're actually really hungry. And they want to be challenged. So I suppose that's something to bear in mind, as well as what kind of projects that you can get them involved in, and making sure that they're stimulated, because they do get bored quite easy because they are such a high caliber. They need to be constantly working and challenged. So do you want to talk about maybe a little bit about what kind of projects your degree apprenticeships are currently working on, just to give other people a flavour of where you could position them, I suppose?
For those that have qualified, at the moment, they're all in ME roles, so they've all been assigned to production areas. So they're now being trained to become specialists in those type of machines or those type of processes. So ranging from, and we do cover many types of processes in the company. That ranges from the cutting of material, machining of material, the welding of material. We skip painting out unless it's organizational behavior or organizational tasks in that area. Then it's on and through to fitting. And then there's the other work-based activities where some of them are spending more time in planning. And data analysis and data gathering is a big thing for us, and the AI initiative that we're running at the minute in the company. And then there's also the development of the digital factory. And our Industry 4.0 journey that we're taking. So that's where the two of those new employees, we'll call them, that just graduated, that have now been offered jobs. One of those is in the welding, and in particular they're working on new jigs related to the robotics. And the other one is actually in programming. She's spending a bit of time now learning and developing how we program the other CNC machines in the factory, and doing a lot of data gathering. For a student, whenever they start in the company, we have a roadmap to success now for all of our students, all of our apprentices and all of the young people in the factory, and we're rolling that out right across the whole of the factory. We most certainly are on a retain campaign in the factory. Everybody's aware of the difficulties in getting new labour, so we are doubling down on how do we retain, and that's through retrain. But for a DA, as we call them, we always have that initial conversation. Where does your heart lie here at this minute in time? What is it you want to learn? So they all get a bit of an appreciation of what it is what we can show them and what we can teach them. And in year one, most certainly the first 3 months of year one, it is just purely based on them getting used to our processes, our situation. We like to think that from the third or fourth, but probably the fourth month onwards, it's value add at that stage. They'll have settled into what it is, and that transition from a fairly stable A level life into industry and academia. It's a big transition for anybody of that age, and I would not undersell that. Very, very important one to watch. Our mentoring program gauges us greatly on that one. We like to start our students prior to the summer months. So if they're offered a position and if their grades are pretty much certain to be where we expect them to be, we will offer them jobs and we'll get them to start throughout the summer months to get them settled in. But the projects that they'll work on thereafter, and it will depend on where the availability is in the company and where they think they want to inevitably end up at. So we have the students that are here at the moment. One of them is working in the high lift line. That's his next step to get to where he inevitably wants to get. So we spend a lot of his day troubleshooting issues. So we spend a lot of time on AutoCAD, on SolidWorks, on rework, going through design files, checking the new releases of files to make sure that there's no mistakes and that any of the continuous improvement aspects of the last build are caught and that they're in that new file before release. And then he's spending a bit of time. I suppose it's benefit for students that we have now put them through Six Sigma. So they're more tuned into the Six Sigma lean development methodologies. So there's a bit of time actually spent on that too. And their days they're very, very clearly set out. They will move offices in a day to ensure that they're working on the right projects. The other student that's here at the minute is also in an ME role, and she is purely checking files at this minute in time. But within a week now, she's about to step into the next stage of her development, and that's taking on a specific area of a specific truck.
I suppose from being in and out of Malahans and seeing the degree apprentices and seeing that they're participating in your morning meetings, like in management meetings, like they seem to be integral in the weaving of the Malahan company, and certainly Malahans are valuing what they're bringing to the table. Am I right in that, or?
No, you're 100% right. I personally call upon the students probably too much to help me out. And do particular projects or side projects, formulate reports. And in many instances, they're sitting in meetings that they don't and won't have any input at this stage, but it's part of their learning. They need to learn what the intensity is of higher level meetings and the etiquette of those particular meetings. And whilst sitting there relatively well tuned in, they're learning, they're constantly learning. But it also gives them a bit of an idea of what direction they want to go in, because inevitably some of these young ones are going to become future leaders, and I think a taste of what we give them shapes them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I suppose then, Eddie, we've heard great examples of how to manage them when they're there. Like I like that, the rotations, clearly setting out expectations, but also listening to them, mentoring them. And I suppose, one of the barriers that previously we did have with the Mega Degree Apprenticeship program was that initial investment in that first year. Now that you've been part of the program for 5 years, like in an honest, truthful conversation, do you still see that? Because it is a heavy investment for a company. How would you advise people on that?
Look, let's be honest with this. This is plus £100,000 that we're committing to. I've seen it in my previous employment. I can see where the young ones are today. I still keep track of where they've ended up. I was their mentor at that time, and I suppose to this day, my opinion is still the same. This is a really, really good investment, and we've got better at it. Just like you guys have developed, we've developed the roadmap to success, and the point when they become value add. That's all dependent on us to get to that. So we know that whilst we're entering into a big commitment and money terms, it's on us to ensure that we get the best out of that person. It's on us to ensure that we have hired that person correctly to suit our values in this company and the direction the company's going in. So if we get this right, they become value add much quicker. So that lessens the burden. As I say, most certainly from month 4 onwards, these people will be adding value. And then when the thing flips to the 4 days in industry and 1 day in university, then they really are, the rockets behind them at that stage. You can see that every day in, day out, they're starting to give you a wee bit more back, But there's a huge amount of respect given to them, and I think that's very, very important. These are bright young people, and as you alluded to earlier, that's the feeding off it. When you get somebody really bright through the door, they're like that there because they've been nurtured that way, and they will continue to be nurtured that way. But if the company can't stick with that level of nurturing, they need to change their ways. They don't need to necessarily say we can't do this. It's understand how you then do that and what is the best way to nurture them and keep them involved. That to me is the route to success, or the secret sauce in it.
Yeah. And from an industry perspective, then I suppose it's about, for the people on this call as well, it's about utilising the supports that are available around them. So whether
Absolutely.
it's Mega or the university or MTF or GEMX, like there is support out there, and we're all working collaboratively because this is for the greater good of industry, I suppose.
Yeah, for sure. And we'll not tell a lie here. At the very start of this, it was stumbly and it was stuttery. And I think nobody really knew where they stood, and there was many debates between maybe myself more so than anybody else, between industry and academia, and how did this whole thing rest? Where was it going to land? But nobody lost sight of the greater good, and that was to develop the young people and give us more of a labour pool. But everybody jailed, everybody stuck to it, and you can see where the development of the programme is right now. We don't have the same issues now as we would have had. Everybody understands how the thing works. It's clear, it's cleaner. So as I say, it's in a much cleaner, better place than it was, and then don't doubt that that'll continue to enhance. The collaboration, the tripartite agreement that we have there, and the further direction that I'm sure is going to come together, and I would be hugely excited for what the future holds here.
Thanks a million, Eddie. Thank you so much for your time. I think everybody is going to benefit from that. Hope there might be some questions for you at the end, Eddie, as
Somebody
well.
asked a question here about the type of training the type of testing that we did earlier on there.
Did it come up, Eddie? Anastasia, do you have that question? My computer's just really slow.
The question was, what type of training testing do we do for apprentices before we hire?
Oh yeah. Would you be happy to discuss that now, or do you want to share it after?
No problem. There's no IP in that. We would have had, as like most of you will have, numerous apprentice applications, some in paper, some in digital format. And the old way of sitting down and thumbing through these pieces of paper just for me didn't work. I just didn't like it. So what I decided to do was to bring back what would have been an old aptitude test approach to hiring many years ago. But I developed 3 different types of tests that appeal to the 3 different types of learner, and then a whole half day of delivering those tests and what we were looking out for, not necessarily what the answer to the question was and whether they got it right or not. So as I said, we were looking out for what they couldn't do as opposed to what they could do, and where we felt we were able to actually develop that student. So there were basically 3 types of mechanically based questions written in different formats. We observed to see how or which test they lift first. They're given a tight timeline, and there's some trick questions on it there. They have to listen very carefully to the instructions, and then they basically get tested from the moment they arrive in the office that same day. How do they walk into the office? How do they conduct themselves? What way they're dressed? Everything's taken into consideration. Whenever they're doing their factory tour, how do they behave? What is their interaction? What type of questions are they asking? And we put a lot of resource against it. There could be 10 people active for those 2 days that we do the testing over. And we correlate all of our information at the end of it. And then we have a marking system that works very well. And we do then the psychoanalysis test too, to just try and find out what type of person they are and how they'll best gel, and how we have to then gel around them.
Do you know what? That's actually been really useful because it shows the level of you're getting these great high caliber students that, as you talked about earlier on, you want to retain, but it's about getting the right fit as well and making sure that you have got the right person for moving Malahans forward. So you need to ensure your investment, your future investment is put all that effort in at the very beginning as well to make sure you select appropriately and you're not just taking somebody to fill a gap.
No, that's 100% right. But I can almost guarantee you that the person that you need, the type of person you need, are in those applicants. There's just so many applicants today. So the good work that Mega has done is now obviously paying a dividend there because we have such a selection of good quality talent. The hardest part of it now is turning away the ones that you'd really, really want to keep for whatever reason. So no, that's worked perfectly. I think another the final key to that there is our ability to ensure that that person is comfortable working here and that they are the right person for us and that they're developing right is the mentoring program that we have now in place through collaboration with Mega again. That mentoring program is absolutely, as I say, key to making this all work. We don't know what bumps in the road these people are going to hit as they merge from their past lives into their new, more complex lives. The mentoring program is, as I say, key to making that right. And we would have a much better understanding of everything that they want to talk about purely because they have mentors. And they all do have a mentor in this factory. So yeah, that's it. The cost thing, that's not relevant. It's really not relevant. The 4 years just seem to fly past, and we've seen now students coming out the other side of it and just amazing young people.
Yeah, Eddie, thank you so much. That was really insightful, honestly, from an industry perspective. And anybody can think of any questions they want to ask Eddie at the end, please put them into the box. Thank you very much, Eddie. I know you're really busy, and thank you for your honest opinion there. I'm now going to move on to Evan from the university, from the Apprenticeship Hub, who can talk about what supports, because I suppose it's really important for us that you are supported as an employer to take on a degree apprentice, and when there is pitfalls and or questions that you have someone to go to, that you don't feel isolated as industry. We're all trying to work much better collaboratively, I suppose. So Evan, thank you very much for being with us. I'm just going to hand over to you.
Thanks, Una, and thanks for inviting me, and nice to see you all on the call. I think maybe the best place to start is to kind of give you a bit of an idea of the work that I do and the work of the center. So my role at the university, my official title is Governance and Policy Officer. So I think fundamentally, my first task and the task of the Center for Apprenticeship Skills and Flex Ed is to make sure, I guess the exciting part of it is to make sure that we're achieving with our apprenticeship program what DFE's vision is for the higher level apprenticeship scheme. And it is a very ambitious vision in terms of training and upskilling people of all ages in these key sectors like engineering. So that's the exciting part. The less exciting part of being a governance and policy officer is that quite a lot of my role is based around making sure that we are adherent to all the rules that DFE set out in terms of the funding and that sort of thing. So when we meet with new employers, especially, one of our key roles is to kind of set out rules about eligibility and explain, what it is that apprenticeship employers are getting themselves into. So if you're interested in taking somebody on, whether it's September this year or whether you have kind of a longer term plan for when you might take apprentices on board, usually that process starts out with a conversation with me and my team, and we kind of just talk you through what's expected of you, because it was interesting to listen to what Eddie was saying there around not just recruitment but also that roadmap to success that he has in place. Quite a lot of the work that I do with employers is our interventions kind of right at the start of the journey to make sure that when we get things set up correctly and that we have, as he calls it, a roadmap to success where we're really quite focused on we know what the university is going to do. Ryan's talked through that earlier on, but what is the plan? What is the strategy for the employer to bring this person along over the next 4 years? And we do quite a bit of work at the start of that, both myself and Ryan, Mohammed, that the team involved in the academic side of the things can kind of support you with that. And give you some advice about whether it's planning a job description or what does the training plan actually look like. There's resources here to support you with that. So that's the most important thing, is to make sure that we're doing everything that we're agreeing to do with DFE. The sort of second most important thing that our team does is we support what's called the tripartite. So there's three different parties to an apprenticeship. There's the training provider, which is the university, the employer, and the apprentice themselves. So we provide support to all three of those parties. And for the people on the call, what does that look like? If you're having any issues or you have any questions about the apprenticeship process, we do provide a wraparound support service. So you can always lift the phone to me, and we're in regular contact with Una about anything that we see or concerns that we have. So the mentorship support that Mega offer is informed because we have a really close working relationship. So that's quite important. What does that support look like for employers? We do quite a lot of work in terms of supporting recruitment. So we run a number of recruitment events, especially during Northern Ireland Apprenticeship Week. We also have a website that attracts quite a lot of traffic from careers teachers, applicants, parents, and that sort of thing. We have a mailing list and lots of ways to reach young people, because often the university is the first port of call when people are asking about apprenticeships. So events like our open days as well, we have a presence at those to make sure that young people know that this pathway is not just available to, not just an option, but it's also a very good option. We're finding out that we have to do a little bit less of that than we expected, because the word's out now. I think that, as Eddie was saying, the caliber of applicants for these apprenticeship programs is extremely high, and I think for those of you on the call who are considering this is a way to kind of maybe act before that brain drain occurs, because a lot of these applicants will be applicants who are considering going to full-time programs across the water and that sort of thing, and when I speak to employers, I often hear that they're having trouble recruiting high quality local talent. And that may be because by the time they've graduated, they've already set up a life for themselves, whether it's in Manchester, Liverpool, London, wherever it is. So, by focusing on that group, working with our teams in market engagement and educational partnerships, we are the ones that are in schools, attending apprenticeship fairs and that sort of thing to make sure that local young people are aware of this pathway and that they're able to know exactly what they need to do in order to be successful on it. So I find myself at lots of careers fairs and open days and all this stuff throughout the fall, but especially again around Apprenticeship Week, when a lot of people's minds are focused on it. We have quite a lot of events to put you those employer events to put you in touch with those applicants. Last year we had the event in Derry. I think we had 250 applicants registered. It was a great day, wasn't it, Una? It's brilliant. Yeah. And we had we had about 25 employers, and we had some workshops, some panel sessions where young people could actually hear from people like Eddie, from actual apprentices as well, what it's actually like, just because we do need to still do a bit of work around demystifying apprenticeships. So when I say supporting that tripartite for everybody on the call, that is you'll have a hotline to me to answer any questions you have about the program for the duration of it, but you'll also you'll get that support that we have, where we are consistently in the background working with our other teams in the university, but ourselves as well, just driving applications, driving interest, driving eyes towards your vacancies and towards the mega recruitment process. And then the last thing is around kind of sustainability and growth, and we're doing a lot more in that space. And there's one thing that's really key for us is that when we ask DFE every year, we ask DFE for a certain number of places, and part of my role is to make sure that when we recruit an apprentice, that they stay on and they complete their degree. We have a financial incentive to do that, but also, it's really important to make sure that, for our relationships with our employer partners, that retention rates are high. And so we've worked a lot with our teams. We have a center called the Student Success Center, where we are really focused on making sure that academic attainment, so your actual performance on the course, isn't the thing that's getting in the way. So huge amount of support in terms of maths for engineers. There's special programs that have been built from the Student Success Center that are focused on maths just for engineers. So that tends to be where some of the apprentices struggle a little bit, because that maths module can be a bit difficult. So specialist support for those apprentices on that program. But also from the employer perspective, we're doing more to support especially newer organizations that maybe haven't been doing apprenticeships for a very long time, to have access to what has become a really amazing community, a network of best practice with all the different employers, not just across the MME and EEE programs that Ryan was speaking about earlier, but also across the entire provision, because I'm sure that Eddie can share with you a lot of subject specific things that have worked for Malahans. But I also think that it's going to become increasingly important, to hear what some of the apprenticeship employers on our computing programs have to say, or even, we have a new law apprenticeship. We have 16 different undergraduate apprenticeships, but I think everybody on the call could agree that if there's something of value to be gleaned from all those other employers, I think we should have the opportunity to all get in a room and do that. So our center's fairly new. We're only kind of 2 years into having the staff that we currently have. And one of the things we're planning for the end of the summer is exactly that. It's an employer workshop event where employers from across the piece are able to come in and share best practice. So we'll have sessions about recruitment strategy and that sort of thing, but also some other sessions that are maybe a bit more workshop focused in terms of questions that we often get is what does study leave look like? It's something that comes up. Apprentices have certain times of the year where they might be inundated with coursework, and different employers have different approaches to that. And it might be good when you're thinking, if this is your first year doing this, it might be good for you to kind of get in the room with some of the people who have been doing it for several years and have the bruises to show for it, and are able to kind of give you their insight into what works best for them. Because, again, Malahans, if it's 600 people, it could be very different if you're an engineering firm that has 50. And it could be a totally different training plan with regards to that. So important to get perspective and to get that opportunity to network with other employers. So that's kind of one of the things we have coming down the line. And we're constantly looking at opportunities to kind of continue to develop that and to continue to support employers. So, again, like I said, Una and I work very closely together. So this is actually a part of a product of a conversation that we had earlier on. But we've also done a number of different events specifically for Mega, where we've invited employers to come in, give us feedback, see what we can do better. And, I think we've acted on quite a lot of that. One of the things that had come up as we were learning, and you heard Eddie and Una both say this, we are learning on the fly a little bit, because once we've spun this up, there are things we didn't expect. So, one of the things that came up during a meeting with our Mega employers was that they like a bit more regular communication about academic progress and attendance. And one of the things that we delivered here in semester 2 was we've sent out more regular attendance reports, and there's reports about the overall progress from the academic year coming in the next few weeks. So there has been a lot of change. We are trying to be as responsive as possible. But hopefully that gives you an idea of the kind of support that we're offering. But if anybody has any questions, or if Una, you have any questions for me, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you so much, Evan. No, that I think that really encapsulated everything, and I suppose just to pick up on a couple of points, because I know we're coming to the end of the webinar, is the attraction piece is really important, folks, like that visibility. So, you know, if you're being invited to attend these events, first of all, you're getting the communication because we or the university feel like it's going to be really value add for you. So please really give it good consideration. We have young people that are coming from, I have to count with my fingers, 11, 12, 13, 14. Year 14 are coming to our degree apprenticeship open day because they want to be the face that those employers remember when they get to their A levels. So these are the kind of kids that really want to get there. But if you're not there, they don't know your brand, they can't see you, or you don't build that same kind of relationship. So I would stress, though, that attraction piece is really, really important. Another bit just to clarify again about that first year, Evan talked about how competitive it is. We're losing some talent through the brain drain. I suppose that first year we were very conscious as Mega when we were setting this up at the University of Ulster. We picked Derry because Derry just seemed to be the best place to host this. They have a really supportive department, a department who are really invested in and interested in the industry. But we knew that we were competing with not the University of Ulster and Belfast, we were actually competing with the Holy Lands. So we had to try and come up, you know, with a model that works. And this model, where it's 3 or 4 days in that first year up in university, really works because A, we're getting the talent coming through that we might have lost to the Holy Lands, and B, the young people are getting that opportunity to live with people that they particularly don't know, and building resilience and having to manage money, living away from home, really developing those softer skills. And Eddie would be able to clarify that they come back different people than they would have been if they just moved straight to the Holy Lands. They've got that certain level of maturity as well. And Evan has been, and his team have been, an absolutely priceless resource in relation to supporting our companies within Mega and being really helping us with making sure that industry's voice is heard within academia as well. So thank you very much for that, Evan. It takes everybody to make it work. I'm just going to round up again by saying thank you very much to GEMX, MTF, Eddie, and to University of Ulster. We are obviously Mega. If anybody wants to hear anything about the Mega mentoring program that we have developed, which has really helped with the retention of our degree apprentices, I think we're sitting at 95% or something like that. Please do reach out to me. I will send some details about Mega and on a follow-up email. A really important shout out, Maria will kill me if I don't mention it. We are completing a skills survey analysis. I think she might have already sent it to you, Joanne and Donna. And I'm just going to put that as an attachment as well in the email. Would really appreciate if you could help us shape the future of academic provision, ensuring that it is industry focused and industry led as well, or we have a voice. Closing date for that is tomorrow, but I promise you, if you grab a cup of tea, it will only take you about 5 minutes to complete. It's not really heavy. So Anastasia, from Mega, I want to say a big thank you for doing all our technology today. Again, thank you very much for reaching out, and it's wonderful to be able to host things like this, and happy to take any questions after, if that's okay. So is there any questions? We've got something coming through, or maybe people are getting ready to leave. I can't read that. Catherine and Karen are typing. Let's see if there's any questions. Oh, thank you all. So if anybody just wants to drop me some emails, or Ryan or Evan or Eddie even after this, don't be afraid to. And we will email out the video and some information afterwards. So thank you all very, very much. Thanks a million, folks, for participating.
Thanks, Anna.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. 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 Bye.